Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
The following is a breaking hot take from the Dudes in Hyperspace podcast.
Hey kids, surprise, surprise. Ian J. Malone here for a hot take edition of the Dudes in Hyperspace podcast. Real quick, we don't always have time to do full 1-hour episodes for you guys, but on occasion, big stories break, and we feel like we kind of want to comment on that while the iron is hot. Today is kind of one of those days. So before I get into that, I want to say hey to my boy Dave. Dave Daniels, welcome back, brother. What's going on this evening?
Just finished up my steak, having a great conversation with you. All is good with the world, my friend.
It's always a good night when you're having steak on a Monday. That is
Yes,
that is a good way to quell the Mondays. So, all right. Well, we touched on this topic actually a couple of episodes ago. One of our listeners via the Dude Mail segment asked our thoughts on James Bond. And that has been a subject that's been in the news a lot the last year. As we all know, Bond 25, which is as yet untitled, is being filmed right now. It has been confirmed that it's going to be Daniel Craig's last run as the role of James Bond. So that's led to massive speculation of who's going to take up the mantle. It's been rumored that one of the guys from Game of Thrones is in the running. It's been rumored that Idris Elba could be in the running. We all know him from Pacific Rim, a number of other different things. But nobody has really known until now. And that all kind of changed yesterday. British tabloid The Daily Mail, which is one of the biggest papers over in England, is reporting that Captain Marvel co-star Leshana Lynch has been cast in Bond 25 as the next 007. Now, it's important to note the term there. She has been cast as 007. She has not been cast as James Bond. So this is the way that this is going to go down. According to a source of the Daily Mail, and before I decided to do this, I wanted to check a number of different sites, and everybody's reporting on this. ABC News, E! is reporting on this, all of our usual geek news sites. Everybody's talking about this. So while I'm not typically a fan of reporting on a source, apparently this is somebody because everybody believes in it, so we're going to go on ahead. So according to the source, the plot is said to revolve around Daniel Craig's James Bond having been retired in Jamaica, but he is going to be called in on, quote, out of desperation to tackle a new global crisis. So here's a quote from the source. Quote, there's a pivotal scene in the start of the film where M says, come in, 007, and in walks Leshana, who is black, beautiful, and a woman. It's a popcorn-dropping moment. Bond is still Bond, but he's been replaced as 007 by a stunning woman. So that's the way they're going to introduce this. And she is said to have a fairly substantial part in the film. I don't know if that means she's going to be, quote unquote, the Bond girl, as everyone, we get one of those in every movie. But supposedly that is how they are going to roll out a new 007. So I guess to kind of put a comparative spin on this, they're going to take the Marvel approach with Captain America. They're passing a mantle. They're not going to recast an actor as the same character in the franchise. They're going to put a new character in the mantle. So that's all the rage. Naturally, this is garnering lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of reaction online. Some of that reaction is coming from sane people who have very good thoughts and insights on all this. A lot of that is coming from very not sane people. So we're here to talk to the sane people. Dave, tell me your thoughts on this. You're like myself, you're a lifelong Bond fan, but you're also a guy who's pretty savvy when it comes to the business of how all of this works. So now that this does seem to be legitimate, lots of news outlets are reporting that this is coming. What are your thoughts on this?
The honest answer is I believe that this is a leak, and I'm doing the quotes when I say this,
Yeah.
that it's a leak to try and get something started talking about the movie. They're getting into it now. Now it's going to get people excited. My prediction on this is all they've done is pass the 007 moniker because they had to when he retired. That number gets recycled.
Sure.
Once that moniker gets redone, she's just another agent in there. My prediction is at the end of this movie, she's not making it out.
That's interesting. I've seen a couple of people have that take. I don't know that I see that happening. I don't know that I see her having any sort of a grisly end. I see her coming out of the other end. I think that the backlash against MGM would be enormous if they blow this. So, I don't know, you can say that's the cynic in me or what have you, but I think she's here for the long haul. What I do think, I'll speak on kind of the dollars and cents point of view, and then I'll put my Bond fan hat on and we'll go from there. I think this is the studio hedging their bets with a casting. By rolling her out as 007, they get a chance to gauge a lot of different things at one time. They get to gauge her performance on the screen, which I think she'll do just fine. She's a really good action star. She has chops there, and she'll do fine. So they'll get a chance to kind of gauge her on the screen in this role, sort of a test drive, if you will. and they'll get a chance to gauge fan reaction to her after the movie has dropped and people have had the opportunity to see her. So like I said, lots of crazies on both sides of the aisle are weighing in on this online, having never seen this woman on screen at all. This will give them an opportunity to put her out there and let people weigh in, after having seen the product. And then they will decide whether or not they want to move forward with a standalone film with her as 007, or whether or not you wait 5-6 years and then just reboot the entire franchise like they did with Daniel Craig as a new male version of James Bond. So that's what I think is the kind of the dollars and cents philosophy to this news, this casting, and the approach that they're going to take. Again, I don't see her biting it at the end of this. I see her making it out alive. Now, how they do that, I don't know. We'll have to go see the movie. As a Bond fan, I will tell you this casting doesn't speak to me. It doesn't speak to me in a lot of the same way that I think the recasting of Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica in the early 2000s didn't speak to a lot of the original fans of the 80s series. The best way I know to describe my feeling on this is I'm going to kind of shift genres a little bit here. I read a Billboard article with Eric Church one time talking about the current state of country music, and there was a lot of discussion about the infusion of hip-hop into a lot of the current country acts, whether it's Florida Georgia Line or whomever. A lot of these kids in the 20s that are bringing this to their spin on country music. And they asked him what he thought about that. And he's very well known as an old schooler, a diehard guy who cut his teeth on Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, all the Outlaws, 80s country, et cetera, et cetera. And he just said, I think it's great that kids have their art. A person's art should be theirs, and nobody has any business telling them what to do. Having said that, you can get so far away from the roots of what makes a genre that it just ceases to be that genre. There is a line, in my opinion, where you can go too far and you're not singing country music anymore. And I think that there are some people in this business who are skating close to that line with a lot of what we're hearing now. So I'm going to kind of take that same stance on this. I'm all for shifting things up. I can remember the backlash when Daniel Craig was announced as the blonde Bond, and people freaked out over that, which I thought was just ridiculous. But, Bond is Bond, and I do feel like this is a little bit further over that change line than I would be prepared to go as a fan. I'll give it a shot. Now, whether I'll give it a shot in the theater or whether I'll give it a shot on a Redbox rental, we'll have to wait and see. Trailers are going to dictate that for me. But that's kind of my initial take as a fan. But now, kind of putting the dollars and cents hat back on, here's what I will say about that. If you are really, really, really thrilled with this casting, and you're really happy that this kind of change is being made, whether it's for creative reasons, whether it's for political reasons, or what have you, then go see the movie. Go support the movie with your dollars and cents. If you are just completely against this, and come hell or high water, you're never going to give it a chance, then just don't go see the movie. And that's kind of how I choose to deal with the controversy. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts on any of that. I'll throw the mic back to you.
I think that people that just look at it aesthetically and say there's no way a woman could ever be Bond, or there's no way a black person could ever be Bond. One, I'd love to see Idris Elba. Dude, that guy,
yeah,
he's a complete rock star. That guy would just, man, I've seen him in so much stuff that just, I'm excited. I was excited that he was actually in the running for Bond.
Sure.
I've never seen her act. I've heard several people today and go through that say that she does a phenomenal job. She can do the action part of it. That's great. I really think that if you look back at it, when was the last time anybody was this excited, this far ahead of a Bond movie coming out, or had this much to talk about going out? And the last time it was when Daniel Craig was brought in, and it was a controversial thing. Right. I really think this is just their way of bringing something in that gets people talking about it, coming out, so there's lots of buzz coming into what they're doing. They can kind of shape how they do things based on what they're seeing from the fan reaction. But at the end of this, even if she doesn't bite it, I just think that the 007 goes back to whoever the new Bond is next year.
Right. Well, again, I think if you're going to try something this radical, this is the way you do it. You roll it out for one movie, you let people weigh in on it with their dollars and cents. And at the end of the day, folks, that is what is going to make or break whether this stands or not, is the dollars and cents. If the movie doesn't make any money, they're not going to do it again. All right? A lot of people want to rage on Ghostbusters 2016 as to, the backlash against that, and everybody hated it because it was all female. They didn't make another one because it lost the studio a bunch of money. Now, that's a very complex situation as to why that happened, but at the end of the day, the economics of the thing drive the train. If the movie makes money, then they're going to do more of them. It's the reason we've got 9 Fast and the Furiouses now, because the thing still continues to just make gobs of cash. So that's why I say, if you're a fan of this change for whatever reason, then support it with your money. Go to the box office and buy a ticket. And if there are enough of you, then she's going to stick around and she's going to be the next 007. And if the movie bombs, if they don't make enough money off of it, then they'll give it 5 or 6 years and let it breathe for a while, just like they did with Star Trek. And then they'll recast and blow the whole thing up and start over from scratch. So, the studio is really kind of at a can't lose when you look at it from that way. The last Bond movie really did not do well. And that's one other thing I would say to people who are just adamantly opposed to this change. Where were you when Spectre came out? Because it flat tanked. Nobody went to go see that. And that's one of the reasons why they are looking at something so radical for this kind of change, is because they lost their butts in the last movie in terms of the investment. So, that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, I'm on the fence as to whether or not I will give this one my theater money. I'm pretty picky about that anymore at $10 a ticket. Mm-hmm. But, that will, again, be dictated by the trailers. If they show me something I really like in the trailers, then we'll give it a shot. And if not, then it'll most likely get caught on Redbox. So, alrighty. Well, folks, as Hot Take denotes, it's short, sweet, and to the point, man. So that's the name of this one. We will probably weigh in on this a little bit more when the next episode drops. So feel free to tune in on that. I'm thinking that's probably going to come in about 2 weeks. We're going to let Comic-Con kind of play through. That kicks off this week in San Diego. As expected, lots of news going to pour out of there. So we will probably do a Comic-Con recap edition for our next episode. Then after that, boys and girls, it's time to get into some college football season. And I'm going to trade you on this one. We're going to give you an all-nerd edition with the Comic-Con episode. And then, baby, we're going for full-on college football preview mode. And we've got some things in the works that could make that a lot of fun. That's going to be a fun episode regardless, because we're all football fans. But we're pulling some strings behind the scenes to really make that episode special. So stay tuned for some news there. But thanks as always for checking in on the show. You can find us online at dudesandhyperspace.com. You can Facebook us at the Hyperdudes. Same thing with Twitter. If you got questions, drop them our way via email, dudesandhyperspace@gmail.com. Also tweet at us with the hashtag DudeMail. We're diversified that way. So thanks as always for following the show. Drop us questions, drop us love, whatever suits you. And we appreciate it as always. And we will see you for the next episode. So have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
See ya.